Guys, welcome back to my channel. We're going to jump right into meal prep. The first thing I'm going to make is this cornbread taco bake. Okay, it may not be pretty, y'all, but I tried this and it is so good, so much flavor, spot on. What you're going to need for this, you're going to need 1/2 cups of some sort of cornbread mix. I'm using this Kodiak protein. You need a 1/2 cup of whatever milk you want to use, 1 egg. You're going to need a pound of some sort of meat. I'm using this ground turkey, the 99% fat-free because it's 0 points. Taco seasoning. Need some of this Mexicorn, some Rotel tomatoes. You'll need some plain non-fat Greek yogurt, or you can use sour cream. That's what the original recipe calls for. And then I'm using 1/2 cups of the Velveeta shreds and then some green onions. I will have the original recipe linked down below, but I did make a few substitutions to it. We're going to go ahead and cook up our ground turkey. We'll add in some taco seasoning. As you know, I usually make my own taco seasoning, but I did not have any made ahead of time, so I did just pick up a packet that was actually already in my pantry. So I'm adding in a 1/3 cup of water to that as well, just to make sure it gets the seasoning all nice and incorporated in this. But like if you want to check out my DIY spice blend video, I do have that on my channel. I'll try and remember to link it, but if I don't, just look in my video, just look up DIY spice blend, and I have the taco seasoning in there. I've just been kind of lazy lately and not wanting to make it, but I do need to make some more of it because I love the homemade taco seasoning much, much better. So after we get that all nice and cooked in, we're going to add in our Mexicorn and our Rotel tomatoes. Now, corn is not 0 points for me on my plan, so you have to keep in mind that this may be completely different points than what mine is compared to yours. So you have to keep that in mind depending on what your 0 point foods are. Now we're going to let that simmer, and then we're going to make our cornbread layers. So I have 1/2 cups of this cornbread mix. I've never tried it before. It does have the extra protein in it, as you saw at the beginning of this video with the calories and the protein. I think the protein on this was like 23 grams or 25 grams. So lots of protein in this, which is fabulous. We're going to put in the milk, the egg, all in with that cornbread mix, and then we're going to go ahead and mix that all together until it's nice and incorporated. It's going to be a pretty thick mixture. Like I said, I never made this cornbread mix before, but it was a pretty thick mixture, so just keep that in mind because just depending on what kind of cornbread mix you're using. Then I have a pan here. It's a little bit smaller than a 9 by 13. I want to say it's like an 11 by 8 is what I feel like it is. But actually, no, it's even smaller. Yeah, I think it may be an 8 by 11 is what it might be. But I'm going to go ahead and spread this in here. I did spray my pan with some cooking spray, so I'm going to spread that cornbread in there. It is going to go into a 350-degree oven for 15 minutes or until the cornbread is cooked through. So again, just whatever your package of cornbread mix that you're using says, then you want to go ahead and go with that. So we're going to put that in the oven. Then we're going to make our cream mixture. So in the original recipe, it calls for sour cream, but I'm going to use plain non-fat Greek yogurt because that is 0 points for me. So you need 2 cups of whatever you're using, whether it's yogurt or sour cream. So you want 2 cups of that. And then we're going to add in half of our cheese. So total cheese for this recipe, I think the original recipe calls for 2 cups, but I'm just doing 1.5 cups because I thought 2 cups was a lot, and I don't think we need that much. So I did 3/4 of a cup to mix in with this cream mixture. I'm adding in quite a bit of green onions and also some cilantro. Cilantro is not called in the recipe, but you guys know how much I love it, so you can leave that out if you're one of those people who don't like cilantro. Here is our cornbread out of the oven, so it is still hot. We're going to go ahead and add in our meat mixture on top of that. So just go ahead and spread your meat and tomato and corn mixture right there on top. I think another way you could do this, you could mix that corn mixture in with your cornbread. I kind of thought about doing that just to kind of add a little bit more of like flavor to the cornbread. So if I make this again, I may do that step. I don't know, just for something different. And then you want to spread your cream mixture on top of that. So your sour cream or yogurt like I'm using in your cheese mixture. And then you want to sprinkle the rest of your cheese on top of this. Then you're going to put this back in at 350 for about 25 minutes at this point. So just to get everything all cooked. And this is what it'll look like when it's all done. Now I did let this cool completely before I cut it because I did not want it to fall apart. So it sat here for about an hour cooling completely. and then I cut it into 6 servings, and this is what you get. So I had 2 servings left over, so I did have one for lunch today, and I'll tell you guys, this is so good. So much flavor. I loved it. Next up, we're going to do a different take on shepherd's pie. So we're going to do shepherd's pie baked potatoes. So it's basically the shepherd pie filling, but in a baked potato versus having the potato on top. I loved this idea when I found it on Pinterest. What you're going to need. You're going to need a pound of ground turkey. You're going to need some diced up onion. You'll need some minced garlic. You're going to need some salt and pepper. And then you're going to need a 1/4 cup of flour. You'll need 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, 2 1/2 cups of beef broth, 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire, a 1/4 teaspoon of oregano, and a 1/4 teaspoon of thyme. And then you're going to need some mixed vegetables. So I'm just going to do this whole bag of mixed veggies, which has corn, carrots, peas, and green beans. So this is going to add a little bit of points because, again, corn's not on my plan of 0 points. You're also going to need some baked potatoes. So what I did with these potatoes is I put them in the oven. First, I washed them really good, poked them with holes, put them in the oven at 425 for an hour. Now, I wrapped them in foil because I do like to eat the peels on my baked potatoes, and if you wrap them in foil, it keeps your peels nice and soft. If you want a kind of a crispier peel on your baked potatoes, then don't wrap them in foil. Just put them in the oven at an hour after you poke them, and then they'll come out perfect. So first up, we need to go ahead and you want to bake your potatoes first, of course, which I already did way before I started my meal prep. Then we're going to cook up our ground turkey. Again, I'm using the 99% fat-free, so it's 0 points. Added in a big, huge dollop of garlic, adding some salt and pepper. Added in about a 1/2 of an onion. I'm going to go ahead and cook that up until it's nice and cooked through. Then I'm going to add in that 1/4 cup of flour. So you just want to sprinkle it all over your meat. You want to stir it up and probably cook it for about a minute just to get that flour taste out of it. If you don't do that, if you don't let it cook into the meat without adding in any liquid, sometimes you'll kind of taste that flour taste. So you want to kind of cook it in there for about a minute just to kind of get that flour taste out of it. So that's just a little tip. Or you can make a slurry and put the flour in with your liquid and then pour it in there. So either way works. And then we're going to add in our seasoning. So I'm just doing a 1/4 teaspoon of the oregano, 1/4 teaspoon of the thyme, and we're going to add that in there. We're going to give that a good stir, and then we're going to add in our Worcestershire sauce. So we're doing 2 teaspoons of that and then 3 tablespoons of the tomato paste. They were out of the tube tomato paste, which you guys know I love because you can just measure it out. Now I have this whole can of tomato paste that I did put in a little container I have, and I just tossed it in the freezer. But to be honest, I always forget about it. So I don't know. That's why I prefer the tube if I'm not using the whole can. I may use the tomato paste later on in the week because I'm making some Swedish meatballs, so maybe I could just put it in there. Anywho, then we're going to add in our beef broth. We're just going to stir that. We're going to bring it to a boil. And bringing it to a boil is going to get that flour and the liquid working really well. And then we're going to put our lid on it, and we're going to let this simmer for about 20-25 minutes. I feel like the longer you let the mixture simmer, just the better taste it has. So once it's done simmering, we're going to add in that whole bag of mixed veggies. For me, like the more veggies, the better. So we're going to give that a good stir, and you can see how nice and thick it is. If it didn't get thick enough for you, you can add more of a slurry. So just take some flour or some cornstarch and mix it with a little bit of water or broth and just put that in there if you want to thicken it up. But mine's nice and thick, so mine was good. So you're going to take your baked potatoes, you're going to cut them in half. Be careful. You can see they're still steaming hot even though they sat there for like an hour. And then you're going to kind of break them open a little bit. And then we are going to put that mixture all over the baked potatoes. So I made 4 baked potatoes. So I made the serving. I kind of made the serving a lot larger just because I think this had 6 servings on the original recipe, but for me, 4, I wanted that extra meat on there. And these turned out so good. I'm just so excited for this recipe. I feel like it's something that is going to be different, and I loved stuffed baked potatoes. And the other things I prepped this week, I did some hard-boiled eggs, I cut up some radishes and some cucumbers for snacking and for salads, and some cilantro and green onions. So I did my usual kind of veggie prep as well. So thank you guys so much, as always, for taking time out of your day to watch my video. All the links for these recipes will be linked down below. Just remember, I always do change them up a little bit, so I just use those for inspiration. So thank you guys again. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.